choice that you make every day. It was a choice that my parents made. They were children of the Depression, a time when you didn't complain because everybody else was in the same boat. And other people might have more to complain about than you, and so you just didn't talk about it. They graduated from high school into the heart of the Depression. My dad in 1931, my mother in 1934, and they had to do whatever they had to do to earn a living, help out, be a carpenter's helper. My mother sold peanut butter cookies, going door to door with cookies in little brown paper bags. You just did what you had to do, and you didn't feel sorry for yourself. They grew up in large families, families that clung to each other, families that amused each other. Whenever they got together, they didn't talk about America and how unfair it had been. They told stories. They tried to make each other laugh. They sat around a kitchen table covered with oilcloth with a kerosene lamp there, and they told stories and were as cheerful as they could be. Cheerfulness, a choice, not the same as happiness, which might happen or not, and if it did, you might recognize it or not. Bliss, something entirely different. Ecstasy, a chemical. I experienced something like it a few months ago when I had a wisdom tooth extracted, which, for me, coming from the age of painful dentistry, you know, when the dentist didn't care about your pain and you just wanted to get it done, and you were not supposed to whimper or show any signs of suffering. He just didn't care. He was a man with sort of pockmarked skin and odd hair patterns and sort of yellowish eyes, now that I think of it, sort of feral eyes. And he was an odd man, and if he needed to extract a tooth, he got right up in your lap. He just climbed right up there in the chair with you, and he just had ordinary pliers in his hand, like they sell in hardware stores, and he just grabbed hold of that tooth and hard, and he just twisted it and worked it out of there, and you took it because what was your choice? You were a kid, and there was no sympathy for you at home. So the idea of a wisdom tooth extraction in my own mind was like torture. But you go to an oral surgeon, and there he is in his long surgical gown, and you sit in a reclining chair, and he asks if you would like a sedative. Well, sure. Why not? How often are you offered this? Kind of a first for me. And so they poke a little hole in the crook of your elbow, and they put a needle and a tube in there, and it flows down from a plastic bag on a tree, and in a minute you are just sort of drifting, and you are in a warm, happy place. You're in this dreamy state, and there are people around you who are doing something, but it has nothing to do with you. You are far away, far from this world of squalor and suffering. You are off in your own place. And it's over in about 3 minutes, and then they wheel you into a recovery room. Recovery from what? Recovery room. And a nurse asks if you are okay. My gosh, you haven't been this okay in a long time. This is a form of okayness that you could easily get used to. And now you think about your friends back in the 60s and what they were looking for, and these little twisty cigarettes and this tobacco that did nothing for you but they pretended to be transported by a little black paste they put in the pipes and tried to light it, and little trails of white powder on a mirror, and the dollar bill rolled up, and all of this stuff that they did back then that just never appealed to you. Here it is. It's in this plastic bag. It's a clear white fluid available to you on the black market, I'm sure. But your ancestors have told you. It's over and over. It's in your heredity. In some way, it's in your culture to turn this down. This is not a good way of life. Chemical ecstasy, it is no good. It's dramatic once, and the second time less so, I'm sure, and the third. And this is a trail you don't want to get on. A person of any wit or intelligence wants to experience all of life in all of its dimensions and permutations, and not go down this chemical trail which only leads toward a life of protoplasm which you would not want. So you don't go there. You are, however, aware that you have in store 3 more wisdom teeth. So there are things to look forward to. Well, this is all material that I would have covered, but in